The camera opens on a scene that feels like a nightmare made real. It's 11:47 p.m., and the parking lot of Rosie's Diner sits under a blanket of darkness, broken only by flickering fluorescent lights that buzz and hum like dying insects. Rain falls in heavy sheets, drumming against cracked asphalt and creating rivers that snake between faded parking lines. The air is thick with moisture and something else, something that makes your skin crawl. Sarah Mitchell, 26 years old with tired eyes and a ponytail coming loose from a long shift, walks quickly toward her old Honda Civic. Her white sneakers splash through puddles as she clutches her keys between trembling fingers like makeshift weapons. She's done this walk 1,000 times, but tonight feels different. Tonight, her instincts are screaming. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the end of this story, and drop a comment letting me know how far these stories travel. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Behind her, 3 shadowy figures emerge from a dark pickup truck. Their voices carry across the wet pavement, low, predatory, punctuated by laughter that has nothing to do with humor. Sarah's pace quickens. Theirs does too. Her heart hammers against her ribs as she fumbles with her key fob. 20 feet, 15 feet, 10 feet from safety. Then a hand slams against the window beside her head. The sound echoes like a gunshot. Sarah freezes, her breath catching in her throat. The men circle closer, forming a wall between her and escape. Their intentions are crystal clear in their eyes, their smirks, their body language. She's trapped. But then, a sound cuts through the rain like salvation itself. The deep, unmistakable rumble of motorcycle engines. Headlights flood the parking lot, turning night into day. The 3 men turn, squinting into the light. Sarah's eyes widen, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. Who's coming? And will they save her or make this nightmare even worse? To understand this moment, we need to rewind 6 hours and meet the woman at the center of this story. Sarah Mitchell is the kind of person this world needs more of. Every evening at Rosie's Diner, you'll find her serving coffee with a genuine smile, remembering regulars' orders, asking about their families like she actually cares, because she does. She works double shifts most weeks, her feet aching in those white sneakers that have seen better days, but she never complains. Sarah is a single mother to 6-year-old Emma, a bright-eyed little girl who draws pictures of princesses and asks questions about everything. Emma has asthma, which means medical bills that pile up faster than Sarah can pay them. Her car's check engine light has been on for 3 months. Her ex-husband hasn't paid child support since last spring. The math doesn't work, but Sarah makes it work anyway through sheer determination and sacrifice. She dreams small because she's had to. A safer apartment in a better school district, maybe community college classes someday, a car that doesn't sound like it's dying every time she turns the key. Her coworkers describe her as the kindest person they know, someone who once gave her last $20 to a homeless veteran, then walked 3 miles home because she couldn't afford gas. Tonight should have been just another shift. She had no idea that her kindness and vulnerability had been noticed by 2 very different groups of men sitting in the same room. They walked in during the dinner rush, 3 men in their 30s, loud and swaggering with the kind of confidence that comes from never facing consequences. Their boots tracked mud across Sarah's freshly mopped floor. Their voices carried over other conversations, demanding attention, claiming space that wasn't theirs to claim. They sat in Sarah's section, and she felt it immediately, that prickle of unease that women learn to recognize but often ignore because society tells them they're being paranoid. When she approached their table with menus and a professional smile, the comments started. "Well, hello there, sweetheart. Aren't you a pretty little thing? What time you get off? Maybe we could show you a good time. Smile more, baby. You look better when you smile." Sarah had been a waitress for 5 years. She knew how to deflect, how to laugh uncomfortably and change the subject, how to maintain professionalism while every instinct screamed danger. She took their orders: burgers, fries, too many beers for men who were already drunk when they arrived. They watched her. Not the way normal customers watch their server. They studied her movements like predators tracking prey. When she brought their food, one of them accidentally grabbed her wrist instead of the plate. When she brought the check, another let his hand linger on hers too long, his thumb tracing circles on her skin before she pulled away. The other customers noticed. The elderly couple in the corner booth exchanged worried glances. The trucker at the counter looked like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. Her manager was too busy with kitchen problems to see what was happening. When the three men finally left, they tipped $40 on a $30 check. But this wasn't generosity. This was a power play, a way of saying, "We can buy you." As they walked out, one lingered by the door, watching which direction Sarah glanced when she looked at the parking lot, noting which car was hers. Sarah told herself she was overreacting. Women always do, right? Up until they're not. Her shift ended at 11:30 p.m. Sarah counted her tips in the back room, her body aching with exhaustion, when movement in the parking lot caught her eye. The same pickup truck from earlier sat idling near the exit, headlights off, engine running like a sleeping monster. Her blood turned to ice water. She considered her options: call someone, but her phone was at 3% battery, barely enough for an emergency call. Ask her manager to walk her out, but he'd already left, eager to get home. The cook offered, sweet old Jerry, who reminded her of her grandfather, but he was 70 years old with a bad hip. She couldn't put him in danger. Sarah made a decision: move fast, get to the car, lock the doors, drive away. Simple plan. It had to work. She grabbed her purse, pulled her thin jacket tight against the cold, and stepped into the rain. The night air hit her like a slap. She kept her head down, keys clutched in her right hand with the longest one protruding between her knuckles like her self-defense class had taught her. 20 feet to the car. She could do this. But the truck doors opened. 3 silhouettes stepped into the rain, their movements casual, unhurried. They had all the time in the world, and they knew she had nowhere to run. Sarah's walk became a jog. Her sneakers splashed through puddles. Her breath came in short gasps. 15 feet, 10 feet. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped her keys. 5 feet. Then a hand slammed against her car window inches from her face. She screamed. "Going somewhere, sweetheart?" The voice was slurred, thick with alcohol and intentions that made her stomach turn. The other two flanked her, cutting off escape. The smell of beer and cigarettes surrounded her. Hands reached out. This was it. This was how her daughter would grow up without a mother. This was how her story would end. Another statistic, another woman who worked late and paid the ultimate price. But then the night exploded with sound and light.
The roar of motorcycle engines shattered the moment like thunder tearing through silence. 5 bikes rolled into the parking lot with deliberate, controlled power, their headlights turning rain into silver curtains of light. The 3 predators froze, their hands dropping away from Sarah, their heads turning toward the sound. The motorcycles formed a semicircle, blocking the only exit, engines cut off in perfect synchronization. The silence that followed was somehow louder than the engines had been. 5 men dismounted. They moved without hurry, without panic, with the kind of calm that comes from men who've seen real danger and know exactly what they're capable of. Leather jackets glistened with rain. Patches on their backs read Iron Brotherhood MC above a skull and crossed pistons. These weren't weekend riders playing dress-up. These were road warriors, men forged by miles and years and experiences that left marks on both body and soul. The leader stepped forward. He was in his 50s, broad-shouldered, with a gray beard and eyes that had seen too much of the world's darkness to be shocked by anything. He didn't shout, he didn't threaten, he simply walked toward Sarah and positioned himself between her and the predators, his brothers flanking him to form a human wall of muscle and leather. The three men who'd been so confident seconds ago suddenly looked small, their bravado evaporating like steam. "You boys lost?" The leader's voice was quiet, almost conversational, but it carried the weight of absolute authority, the kind that doesn't need volume to be heard. One of the predators tried to salvage his courage. "This ain't your business, old man. We're just talking to our friend here." The biker's expression didn't change. "When I see three men cornering a woman alone in a dark parking lot at midnight, it becomes my business." Another biker spoke now, younger but no less intimidating. His voice scraped like gravel on concrete. "Looked more like hunting to me." The predators exchanged glances, their earlier confidence collapsing like a house of cards. They were outnumbered, outmatched, and everyone in that parking lot knew it. The rain continued to fall, washing away their bravado with each passing second. The leader took another step forward, close enough that the lead predator had to look up to meet his eyes. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to this young lady, then you're going to get in your truck and drive away. And if I ever see you around here again, if I even hear your names associated with this diner, we'll have a much longer conversation. The kind that ends with you understanding exactly what it feels like to be afraid. Do I make myself clear?" Silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. "I said, do I make myself clear?" The predators mumbled apologies, the words barely audible over the rain. They backed toward their truck, stumbling over their own feet in their eagerness to escape. But one of the younger bikers, a man with angry scars on his knuckles and fire in his eyes, clenched his fists and stepped forward. "That's it." His voice shook with barely contained rage. "They just walk away? Boss, do you know what they were planning to do to her?" The leader placed a firm hand on his brother's shoulder. The gesture was gentle, but unmistakable, a command wrapped in compassion. "I know, brother. Believe me, I know. But we're not like them. We're not monsters who take what we want and damn the consequences." The younger biker's jaw worked, muscles twitching beneath his skin. His fists remained clenched. The leader continued, his voice dropping lower, meant only for his brothers. "True strength isn't about how much damage we can do. It's about how much we can hold back when we have every right to unleash hell." The moment hung in the balance. Then the younger biker exhaled slowly and stepped back, nodding once. The leader turned to Sarah, his expression softening. "Did they hurt you, miss? Did they touch you?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her face, mixing with rain and relief. "No, you got here in time." "Then this ends here. Justice isn't always about revenge. Sometimes it's just about making sure someone gets home safe." The predators scrambled into their truck and peeled out of the parking lot, tires squealing, disappearing into the night. They'd been humiliated, broken, defeated without a single punch thrown. That's the power of real men. They don't need violence to prove their strength. The parking lot fell quiet except for the steady drumming of rain. Sarah collapsed against her car, her legs finally giving out as adrenaline drained from her system. She sobbed, not from fear anymore, but from the overwhelming relief of being alive, of being safe, of being seen and protected by strangers who owed her nothing. The leader approached slowly, giving her space, letting her process. "You okay, miss?" She nodded, wiping her eyes with shaking hands, struggling to find words big enough for what she felt. I don't know how to thank you. You saved my life. Those men, they were going to—" "We know, and you don't owe us thanks. This is what men are supposed to do, protect those who can't protect themselves." "But why? You don't even know me." The leader smiled sadly. "I got a daughter about your age, works nights as a nurse in Seattle. Every time she goes to work, I worry. I can't always be there for her, but I can be here for you. That's how this works. We look out for each other, even strangers." One of the other bikers was checking Sarah's car, noticing details. The worn tires, the check engine light glowing orange on the dashboard, the dent in the rear bumper held together with duct tape. The bikers exchanged meaningful looks, the kind of silent communication that comes from years of riding together. The leader pulled out his worn leather wallet and extracted several bills. "This is for new tires. And before you argue, listen. We've all had hard times. Every man here has been broke, desperate, one bad day away from disaster. Accept the help. Pay it forward someday when you're in a position to do the same for someone else." Sarah tried to refuse, her pride warring with her need, but the leader's expression left no room for argument. "Take it, please. It'll make us feel better knowing you're safe on the road." Another biker offered his phone. "Call someone you trust who can follow you home. Make sure you get there safe."
Sarah called her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, a grandmother who'd babysat Emma countless times. Within 15 minutes, Mrs. Chen's minivan pulled into the parking lot. The bikers waited, standing guard in the rain until Sarah was safely escorted out of the lot, her car's taillights disappearing into the night. As they mounted their motorcycles, the young biker who'd wanted to fight spoke quietly. "You think they learned their lesson?" The leader started his engine, the rumble vibrating through the wet air. "Maybe, maybe not. But that girl learned something tonight, that there are still good men in this world. Sometimes that's enough." They rode off into the darkness, their brake lights fading like red stars, unknown heroes who'd never seek recognition for doing what was simply right. The next morning, Sarah returned to work. Word had spread through the small town like wildfire. Someone had witnessed the confrontation from a distance, posted about it on social media, and suddenly, everyone knew about the waitress and the bikers, and the moment justice showed up, wearing leather. Her co-workers embraced her, crying with relief. The manager apologized profusely, implementing new safety policies on the spot. No one leaves alone after dark, ever. He installed better lighting in the parking lot and security cameras within the week. Regular customers who heard the story started leaving bigger tips, asking if Sarah was okay, treating her with a gentleness that acknowledged her trauma while celebrating her survival. An elderly couple who'd been eating at Rosie's for 30 years anonymously paid for Emma's next 3 months of asthma medication. The local news picked up the story. "Motorcycle club saves waitress from assault." Reporters tried to interview the Iron Brotherhood MC, but the bikers refused every request. "We didn't do it for attention," their statement read. "We did it because it was right." But their act of quiet heroism sparked something in the community. A GoFundMe page appeared online, created by strangers who'd never met Sarah but were moved by her story. Within a week, it raised $15,000, enough to fix her car, cover Emma's medical bills, and move to a safer apartment complex with security gates and well-lit parking. Sarah printed a photograph from the news article showing the Iron Brotherhood MC standing beside their bikes. She framed it and hung it in her new living room. Emma, her 6-year-old daughter, studied the picture with curious eyes. "Mommy, who are those men?" Sarah smiled through tears, touching the frame gently. "Guardian angels, baby. Guardian angels who ride motorcycles and show up exactly when you need them most." This story is more than one night in a rainy parking lot. It's about the choice we all face every single day, to look away or to look directly at injustice and say, "Not on my watch." Evil thrives in darkness, in silence, in the moments when good people decide it's not their problem. Those 3 predators had probably done this before, had probably gotten away with it because no one intervened. But that night, they learned a lesson that fear teaches better than any lecture. There are consequences when you prey on the innocent. The Iron Brotherhood didn't rescue Sarah because they wanted recognition or praise. They didn't do it to feel like heroes or to boost their image. They did it because in their code, in their brotherhood, protecting the vulnerable isn't optional. It's essential. It's the definition of what it means to be a man. True strength isn't about domination. It's not about taking what you want or proving you're the toughest person in the room. Real strength is restraint. It's standing between danger and innocence. It's choosing protection over violence, justice over revenge, compassion over cruelty. These bikers could have beaten those predators bloody. They had every right and the means to do it. But they chose a different path, one that required more discipline, more character, more genuine power than any fistfight could demonstrate. Sarah's story reminds us that heroes don't always look like we expect. They don't wear capes or badges or perfect smiles. Sometimes they wear leather and ride Harleys. Sometimes they're covered in tattoos and have pasts they're not proud of. Sometimes they're sitting silently at table 7, drinking coffee and eating pie, watching and waiting for the moment when they're needed most. And when that moment comes, they don't hesitate. They don't film it for social media or demand gratitude. They just act, because that's what real men do. So here's the question this story asks each of us. What will you be when you witness injustice? Will you be the predator, taking advantage of the weak? Will you be the bystander, looking away and pretending it's not your problem? Or will you be the protector, stepping forward even when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or dangerous? The Iron Brotherhood made their choice on a rainy night in a parking lot. They chose to be guardians. They chose to be the kind of men who make the world safer just by existing in it. Sarah is thriving now. She's enrolled in nursing school, working towards a future she once thought was impossible. Emma draws pictures of motorcycles alongside her princesses. And somewhere out there, the Iron Brotherhood MC continues riding, continues watching, continues being the silent protectors this world desperately needs. Remember this: sometimes the scariest-looking people have the biggest hearts. Never judge a book by its cover or a biker by their leather. Because the next time you see a group of riders pull into a parking lot, they might not be the danger. They might be the ones standing between danger and someone who needs protecting. And maybe, just maybe, we can all learn something from men who understand that real power isn't about what you can take. It's about what you're willing to give. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever witnessed a moment where a stranger stepped up to help someone in danger? Your stories matter. Share them with us.